Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today for this week's video I'm going to be talking you through some of the kind of key stroke core basics of ABM, which is account-based management. Now, what this kind of is it's a kind of a buyer journey, if you like. That's the way I would describe it. If you're trying to target high value accounts, it's highly unlikely that they're going to see a Facebook ad or Instagram ad and then be spending 1, 2, 3, 4 million pounds or something of really high value contract. So I'm going to be talking you through some of the things which you can do to help you along that buyer journey. Obviously you're not buying, but they are, and it is a process because some of them might be in contracts already. They might expire for 6 months, 12 months. So it's all about building the brand awareness and brand visibility, and there's different ways you can do that, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so let's get into it, and I'll kind of be talking you through it as we work through the video. Okay, so the first thing to be aware of is, when you're putting out your creatives or producing your creatives, it makes sense to start with a very kind of general one. There's different decision makers within these companies. It ranges depending on the size of the company. It could be 10, could be 100. If it's something like BP or Shell or AstraZeneca or a company of that size. So these decision makers are at different stages of the brand awareness stroke buyer journey, if you like. So let's just say, for example, you might have like a chief marketing officer who's already seen 3 of your case studies, but the chief executive of such and such a company, whoever that may be, might be totally unaware of your company. So it's important to kind of stage these things out. And if you see that one of your initial posts, let's say general posts about your brand, has attracted a lot of impressions and clicks, then it might be a signal, or probably would be a signal, to move to the next set of creatives, because it's like a journey. It's like imagine like it is in essence like a customer journey, in a corporate sense. So these decision makers, if I can call them that, are at different stages of that journey. Some of them will have seen your posts, some of them will have read 2 or 3 of your posts, and some of the ones higher up the chain might never have heard of your brand or company. So it is very much a process. Okay, so I would say that if we break this down into kind of 3 areas, you have like pipeline generation. So obviously this is aimed at business, because we're talking B2B, obviously, businesses which have no prior knowledge of your company or brand. So it's about driving leads and just creating brand awareness, because if they don't know about you, they're certainly not going to be emailing or calling you. So that's kind of what that stage is about. Then you've got like this kind of deal closure stage. So for example, if a prospect books a call, it's about liaising with sales and marketing, and just kind of moving them through that sales pipeline, because that's what it is effectively. But this whole process of ABM, account-based marketing, is about sort of it's about a customer journey, the pipeline, and it's different stages of it, and that's why I'm making this video today. And the third and final kind of breakdown of it, if you like, is what I would describe as post-sales expansion. So just because maybe a business has become a customer or a client, the marketing doesn't stop there. Then it becomes about upsell and making them aware about add-ons, additional products and ancillary services which might make them more complete or more beneficial. And it's about upselling and just keeping them in the loop about new products, new launches, new services. So those are the kind of 3 areas. So pipeline generation, deal closure, that's obviously getting once they've kind of booked in for a call and stuff, and liaising with sales and marketing to move them through the pipeline. And I think at that stage you can kind of perhaps customize someone posts a bit, personalise them a little bit more, so if you've got like a really important deal about to go through, you can maybe put out a creative which is perhaps a bit, without being too direct or giving it away. You can maybe personalise it a little bit more and just nudge things in the right direction to help the sales team get it through the sales pipeline. And the third and final one, post-sales expansion, just mentioned. So that's about making brands and businesses, organisations, could be all three, aware of additional services which you offer. So the marketing doesn't stop once they become a client, but it's just about making them aware of the different products, and it never ends. So, okay, so let's move on. Okay, so in the pipeline generation section, which I just outlined a minute ago, there are a couple of things you can do to just try and sow the right seeds, if that's a good way to put it. So I'll mention words like value proposition, talk about, let's say clearly articulate whys. Why should a company which you're trying to market to, or a sector you're trying to market to, use your services, products, etc. Talk about the reasons why they should kind of use your product. What problems does your product solve, if that makes sense? So regardless of what sector you work in, try and articulate in those posts, in those creatives, what problems you solve, and what benefits do you offer as well, and just kind of cover things from that kind of angle, because it might be tempting to put out creative with a picture of your product and 10% off or whatever, but if, like I said, if you're marketing to like a really high spend, big high value account, that's why it's called account-based marketing, the approach needs to be a bit different. You need to kind of highlight the USPs, unique selling points, and really kind of drill down without using so many words as to what the actual benefits of using your product are, and what problems you can solve as a supplier or a vendor. So that's kind of one thing I would suggest to look at. Also, social trust. Nowadays with the internet and reviews play a big part. So try and build on social trust and things like testimonials, different types of social proof. There's different ways to do it. There's Trustpilot, there's third-party feedback. You can create surveys and put them on your website, and maybe create a creative and loop that back through to your website, if that makes sense. So that's one area which is quite popular, and a lot of companies do it, because I must admit, when I'm looking to buy something that costs more than 100 quid, well, for this video I'm talking about marketing in the sort of 500,000, £1 million plus bracket. But if I'm spending any kind of money on a kind of personal level, let's say I'm buying a new laptop for 1,000 quid, I will look for reviews. I won't just look at a picture and think that looks great. I want to see social proof. I want to see what other users have experienced, and the pros, the cons, their feedback. I want to gauge all that, and it's no different with account-based marketing. So it's important to do that, because the people you're marketing to will be looking for verification. They'll be looking to go to different sources online, perhaps through some of their networks, and just to kind of ask questions about, does XYZ company, is it any good? What's your experience with it? That type of thing. So social proof is what I would, reviews and feedback and case studies and stuff like that is a good way to go. Okay, so thought leadership content. Now, this is an interesting one. I mean, I've been in this business for a while, and people post a lot of kind of thought leadership posts on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So, it's I guess it's about some kind of balance, because people can get a bit, if you post a big white paper, and it's too long, too much in detail, everyone's leading such busy lives, what I'm trying to say is they might skip past it, they might not read it, or they certainly might not read it there and then. So, if you can kind of, just, how can I phrase this, try and make the content as concise as possible. You know, a bit like I'm trying to make this video as concise as possible. I don't want to be talking forever and ever and ever. And it's the same with the content. You know, just try and maybe organise some webinars and, you know, educate people about your product. There's plenty of software out there where you can do like live webinar streams, or you can record a webinar. Like Riverside FM is a good example of that. There's plenty of others. You know, and like I said, create white papers. You know, talk about, you know, comparisons in the industry with your competitors, and create some statistics and industry insights, that kind of thing. But it is a balance, because, you know, as I'm sure you are aware, look, everyone's busy. You know, everyone's got a busy day. So if they're scrolling through LinkedIn or any other social media platform, they're probably unlikely to take, let's say half an hour out of their day to read through a white paper. It's just unlikely to happen at that stage of a buyer journey. So, you know, short form content where you can kind of convey the important facts, the important stats, you know, in a non-invasive way. Yes, there should be some industry insights and white papers, but perhaps they shouldn't be too long. And if you just keep them down to a sensible level, I think that will really help you. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so another thing you can do is what's called sales reach introduction. So let's say, for example, if, you know, as the kind of that customer journey moves on a little bit more and you create some creatives, you could perhaps create some content, let's say, which features the name of and a photo of, you know, one of the sales reps, so that when they reach out via email, it might not seem like a cold email or a cold call, and that journey, you know, seems more seamless and connected as opposed to disconnected, because otherwise you're going to have a situation where somebody's reaching out via email or phone, and it's going to seem, you know, like a disconnected customer, because obviously they've never heard of that person before. So that's something which a lot of companies do, and if you can find a clever way to do that, you know, I'm not saying the whole creative should feature a full length face photo, but if you can just try and slot that in discreetly in the top left, right hand or bottom left hand corner, and, you know, their name, title, and build a bit of a creative around that, it won't seem like so much of a surprise when that person reaches out by email or telephone to try and move them along to the next stage of that buyer journey, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. There's tons and tons of stuff, you know. So let's move on to the next stage of this, and we'll keep going. Okay, now demo show-up campaigns are, you know, quite interesting. Say, for example, you've got like a webinar booked, and, you know, maybe, let's say, just making this up, let's say you've got 10 different or 20 different people booked to attend like a webinar. Okay, what you can do is you can create creatives to remind people about webinars coming up and highlight some of the benefits, you know, of kind of showing up, you know, and that will help to reduce, you know, the dropout rate of people showing up to that webinar. Simple trick. It doesn't need to be anything too heavy, but that's one of the things you can do as well. Okay, so moving on, at the kind of deal closure stage, you know, the aim or the goal, if you like, is to keep your prospects at the top of, you know, to keep them fully aware. That's the best way I can put it. You know, throughout the rest of that kind of sales journey, that sales pipeline. Now, you know, just keep them at the top of your mind. You know, there's different ways you can do it. You know, by raising possible future objections regarding the products and you know how the product or the service could or both could you know overcome or solve their problems. You know, this process could go on for months theoretically, because, you know, with high value transactions, you know, as I said right at the start of the video, it's very unlikely that, you know, somebody will see like a Facebook ad and pick up the phone and go, right, you know, we're going to do it. So, and quite often, as I found, you know, people will be locked into existing contracts. They might have 6 months left to run, and they might be looking during that 6 month window for a new vendor, and they might have a process of their own. So you see, that's another point. You know, a lot of these bigger companies, they have their own structure laid down, you know, the process, how they're going to go about it. It's more than likely one person, you know, there's like teams, they have a sign off at each stage, and they've probably got it mapped out at their end, you know, how the process is going to look. So what you need to do is as a marketeer, you know, selling your company's brand, product, etc., is to, you know, help to smooth that journey and make it as seamless as possible, so that it doesn't feel like you know, a heavy, burdensome lifting process. You know, if you can just, you know, have everything it's all about structure, you know. And somebody once said to me, good marketing doesn't feel like marketing, and that's very true, because if you've got a you know, marketing plan for you know, because obviously this is B2B, you're marketing outbound, then, you know, it should be a bit of a journey, and it should feel quite seamless and integrated and connected all the way through. So look, trust content, we've touched on this one a little bit. Just, you know, try and show your buyers, you know, links to case studies of existing clients that have been using your brand, organization, business, company, and just try and, you know, highlight some of the returns on investment that your existing clients have got through using you or your services, and just, you know, complement everything, you know, in a way which helps the process along, because, as I said, they are going to be looking for, you know, trust verification. That's the best way to put it. You know, it's very common. So, you know, as well as case studies, you can do use cases as well. So, you know, there's a lot of companies nowadays, particularly in the tech sector, where, you know, their product has got a lot of uses, and I think this applies to a lot of different sectors. You know, if you take like a packaging company, their packaging could be used for foods, for supermarkets, but the packaging could also be used for, you know, warehouses, and you know, depending on what kind of product is going to be stored. So every company, product, service potentially has different uses, and if you can try and expand that and, you know, highlight and expand the unique selling points of your offering, that will help you. Yeah, maybe touch on, you know, re-engagement campaigns. So say if you have like something like a company or brand where, you know, they've shown interest to start with, but then it's stalled for whatever reason. You know, there's different reasons for that. You know, you can maybe try and create some of the creatives to, you know, themed around picking up from where things left off. There's different reasons why things stall. Sometimes it's, you know, budget of a company you're marketing to, and they put a, you know, a bit of a freeze on spending. It could be a change of plans, it could be a change of management. Many different reasons. But, you know, it's worth, because during these buyer journeys, because it is a journey, you know, account-based management, you know, lots of things can crop up which you might not expect. So rather than just take it as a no, maybe put out some creatives. You know, it can be general. We don't have to have the company name that you're trying to market to, but just put out some creatives to, you know, maybe suggest, you know, you can play around with the copywriting and the wording. I haven't thought about it because, you know, obviously I'm not creating this post today, but, you know, it wouldn't be too difficult to do that, and just trigger something, you know, with the people you're trying to sell to, who might have put their journey on hold or paused things, or, you know, a bit of a moratorium on everything. So that's one thing that, you know, because opportunities do stall, and you know, maybe they'll park it up and say we're going to revisit that in 3 months or 6 months, and if you can just kind of create some creatives around that, I think that will help. Yeah, we talked about objection-specific campaigns, and, you know, everyone's, because every business is different, right? So everyone's got a different reason why a product should or should not work for them. So, you know, as I touched on earlier in the video, if you can try and navigate around that, I think that will be a big plus point. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, post-sale expansion, this is like the kind of final, because there's three areas I've broken it down into. You know, that's once they've become a client, but, you know, then it becomes about just making them aware of what new products, you know, new additions, new upgrades, you know, that type of thing. and maybe you can upsell and get them to spend a bit more money with you, and you know, and also any kind of changes to the service. So whether it be technology orientated changes or, you know, physical updated changes. So my example of that would mean, you know, if it could be like a different collection day or a different end of month billing day or anything like that. You know, you can just, any new updates with regard to the product or any kind of technical or physical changes or upgrades and stuff, you can put out in Creators and just keep them in the loop. And in a nutshell, that's how I would describe account-based marketing. Now, I could talk about it for another hour, honestly I could, and we could go into a lot more, but I don't see the point, because that will make the video too long, and that kind of, you know, people just click off. But if, I'll just wrap up very, very quickly. You know, if you are trying to market your product, services, brand to like what I would call high-value accounts, say, by that I mean, you know, £100,000 a month, not a month, £100,000 a year plus, up to sort of 10 million. You know, let's go with 500,000 upwards. You know, per client per year. Then the strategy which you would need to adopt would be somewhat different to, let's say, a SaaS company. Just trying to attract users online, because if you're a SaaS company, you know, you can do automated email campaigns with Klaviyo. You know, you can go about it in a slightly different way, because, you know, they're probably spending, you know, £200-300 a year on your SaaS product or SaaS service. You know, with something like this where people are spending 500,000 to 5 million or 10 million a year for your products, you know, I'm talking about on a much grander scale, the way you have to go about it is different, because there's multiple decision makers, you know, layered throughout that journey, and you know, those, as I mentioned, those decision makers are at different stages. Some of the ones a bit lower down the chain, they might have read or seen or interacted with 2 or 3 of your posts, whereas like the chief executive or the vice president or the chairman might never have heard of your company. So, you know, these things, especially high value contracts, we tend to go through a board. So, you know, there's a decision and a vote on it at some point, and you know, you have to approach it a bit differently as to, you know, taking into account that some people might have, you know, heard of your company, some people might not have heard of your company, and also look at those different stages which I touched on in the video. So we'll leave that one there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Take care.